I never imagined the day I'd hear screams coming from the palace. The air was thick with dust as villagers ran toward the grand wooden gates of the palace, their voices a murmur of fear and curiosity. I was among them, my legs trembling as I pushed through the crowd to see what had happened. Inside the courtyard, Princess Adia stood frozen, her beautiful brown skin glistening with tears, her golden jewelry glinting in the sun. The elders were gathered, their faces drawn in horror. At her feet lay the village's sacred calabash, cracked into pieces, its once bright paint dulled by the dirt. The calabash was said to hold the spirit of the land, protecting Lumo from droughts and famines. Breaking it was the worst taboo, and yet here it was, shattered like a broken promise. No one dared speak. It was unheard of for the princess to be accused of such a thing. Adia's beauty was unmatched. Her kindness was known far and wide. But as I looked closer, I saw something that made my stomach twist, a red mark on her wrist, shaped like a snake. It hadn't been there before. Then she whispered, barely audible but cutting through the tense silence like a blade. It wasn't me. The spirit, it came to me. Some villagers gasped, others backed away as though her words carried a curse. The chief elder, Baba Juma, raised his staff, his voice firm but shaking. Adia, the spirits do not lie. Tell us the truth. The wind howled, carrying with it a strange, low hum that made the hairs on my neck stand. I wanted to run, but my feet felt rooted to the ground. Something dark was unfolding, something none of us could yet understand. Adia's lips quivered as she spoke again. If you do not believe me, then send me away. Let the spirits decide my fate. The crowd erupted into chaos. Send her away, our princess, the protector of Lumo? But there was no denying the fear in her eyes, or the strange mark on her wrist. And that was how it began, the unraveling of everything we thought we knew about our princess, our village, and the spirits that watched over us. The elders held a meeting that evening, their voices rising and falling as the moon cast pale light over the village. I wasn't meant to be there, but curiosity kept me close. I crouched behind a tree near the council hut, my breath shallow as I strained to hear. She must be banished, Baba Juma declared. The spirits have marked her, and she has broken the sacred calabash. If we allow her to stay, our village will fall into ruin. But she is our princess, protested Mama Siti, the healer. Do you not see the fear in her eyes? What if she speaks the truth? She must prove her innocence, another elder growled, and until then, she cannot stay among us. The voices blurred after that, their words heavy with decisions too big for me to fully understand. I only knew one thing. Princess Adia would be sent away, and the thought filled me with a sadness I couldn't explain. The next morning, the villagers gathered at the edge of the forest. Adia stood before us, her once bright clothes dulled with dust, her head held high despite the tears streaming down her face. The mark on her wrist seemed darker now, its shape more defined, almost alive. Baba Juma stepped forward, holding a small bundle of food and a clay jug of water. You will leave, Princess Adia, he said, his voice hard. If the spirits find you worthy, they will lead you back to us. If not, his words hung in the air, unspoken but understood. I will go, Adia said softly, her voice steady. But I promise you, I will return. And when I do, you will see that I am innocent. The villagers watched as she stepped into the forest, the trees swallowing her whole. The moment she disappeared, a sharp cry echoed through the air, a cry that sounded neither human nor animal. I shivered, clutching my mother's hand. Something was out there, waiting for her. Something that might not let her return. The first days without Princess Adia were quiet, but not peaceful. A strange unease settled over Lumo, like a shadow too stubborn to leave. The skies turned grey, and the streams that once sang with life began to dry up. Whispers of a curse spread through the village. This is because of the calabash, the people said. The spirits are angry. But I couldn't shake the memory of Adia's eyes as she disappeared into the forest. There was truth in them, I was sure. And so, one night, when the moon was hidden and the world felt still, I made my decision. I would find her. Slipping past the watchful eyes of my family, I packed a small bag of roasted maize and dried meat. The forest loomed ahead, its trees twisted and gnarled like ancient guardians. Every step felt heavy, as though the spirits themselves were trying to pull me back. The forest was alive with sounds, rustling leaves, distant hoots, and the occasional snap of a twig. But it was the whispers that made my skin crawl. Soft and indistinct, they seemed to float just beyond hearing, like a forgotten melody. "Adia," I called, my voice trembling. "Are you here?" There was no answer, only the rustling of the wind. But as I moved deeper, I found signs of her. A piece of torn fabric caught on a thorn, a trail of footprints leading toward a clearing. When I reached the clearing, I froze. Adia was there, kneeling before a massive tree, whose roots stretched like claws across the earth. Her wrist glowed faintly in the darkness, the snake-shaped mark pulsing with a light of its own. "You shouldn't have come," she said without looking at me. "I had to," I replied. "The village is suffering. They think it's because of you." Adia turned to me, her face pale but determined. "The spirits are angry, yes, but not at me. Someone has betrayed them and they used me to send a warning." "Who?" I asked, though I wasn't sure I wanted the answer. Before she could reply, the ground beneath us began to tremble. The tree's roots shifted, curling upward like snakes ready to strike. A low growl echoed through the clearing, and a figure emerged from the shadows. It was Baba Juma. "You," Adia whispered, her voice laced with shock and fury. The elder laughed, his voice cold and hollow. "Did you think the spirits would choose you over me? The Calabash's power is mine now. Lumo will bow to me, or it will perish." I stared, my heart pounding. Baba Juma's eyes glowed faintly, the same eerie light as the mark on Adia's wrist. "No," Adia said, stepping forward. "You've twisted their power, but they can still be saved. I'll stop you." "Foolish girl," Baba Juma sneered, raising his staff. "You are nothing without the spirits." But as he spoke, the ground trembled again, harder this time. The whispers grew louder, rising into a chorus that seemed to shake the air itself. The tree's roots lashed out, wrapping around Baba Juma's staff and shattering it. He screamed, the glow in his eyes flickering before vanishing altogether. The roots dragged him to the base of the tree, where they held him tight, as though the forest itself had passed judgment. Adia sank to her knees, her wrist still glowing faintly. "It's over," she whispered. When we returned to Lumo, the skies were clear, and the streams flowed freely once more. The villagers listened in awe as Adia told her story, and Baba Juma's betrayal was revealed. The elders begged for her forgiveness, and she granted it, though her eyes held a sadness I couldn't place. Adia was crowned queen soon after, and the village flourished under her rule. But sometimes at night I would see her standing at the edge of the forest, staring into the shadows. "They still whisper to me," she said once, her voice carrying a weight I didn't fully understand. One morning, she disappeared again. No one saw her leave, but I knew where she had gone, to the forest, to the spirits, to the place where she belonged. Adia never returned, but the land remained fertile, the skies clear, and the whispers quiet. She became legend, a queen who gave everything for her people and a guardian who never truly left.